Hello there! Today's speed paint is going to be my character Rowan and his new pet who I've not yet decided the name of. Starting out here sketching, you'll notice that I've darkened the background to a light grey and I'm not using exactly black to do my sketch because I find that this is easier on the eyes. I kind of stole the method of sketching from this YouTube channel I just found called Keenan Lafferty. Look it up for sure if you're interested in art videos. But sketching, well, it's a chibi, so it's kind of really easy to sketch because I kind of just start out with a circle and a rectangle to denote the torso, and then the legs are just two long rectangles. And here I'm just adding details and slowly refining it, and now starting out on Rowan's unnamed companion. I'm not really used to drawing creatures that aren't human, so you'll see me sketching in a rather different manner with like not erasing things completely because my erase is on 70% opacity, and I'm kind of quite unsure on how to go this, and then it's very unusual, but I'm going over the sketch with another sketch because like it's my first time actually drawing this character. It was designed for me by my friend Floof. I'll link to the original design of him in the description below, but yeah, this is almost a sketch done. I'm doing a background because I've challenged myself to only produce pieces with backgrounds during the duration of my break, and I only broke it once to do a pixel drawing. So yeah, background, I sketched that out, and now I'm moving on to line art. I'm using my fancy line art brush, which I still don't remember how I found it, but I use this brush as my absolute favourite brush, even though it has a couple of things that's kind of annoying. And actually this is a rather thin line art for a chibi. Usually if I'm doing a chibi I'll do a 40 pixel, maybe even a 50 pixel line art, but this is a 20 pixel line art, and this brush, like the line art isn't actually 20 pixels, but that's what I have the brush set to. So I kind of have to go extra detailed in the line art because it's so thin, but I had a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying line arting, hair in particular lately, because I just feel like you can show a lot through the line art in these things. And for the most part I'm just following my sketch, adding extra things, tweaking a little bit but not really. It's just for the most part following the sketch kind of, loyally. And I use tricks, for example the lasso tool and the select tool and then stroking the select tool, especially since Rowan has a lot of circly bling type things, like the little knobs on the laces. Oh, and here I'm drawing the gear accessory on his boot. I had a lot of trouble with this because, it's supposed to be a protruding bit and a not protruding bit and then a protruding bit and a not protruding bit, but it's a circle, so it's really annoying, and then I didn't get the right proportion to the protruding bits in correlation to the other thing, so I had to redraw it completely. And in the video it went by really quick, but I actually spent a long time doing that. And finishing up the facial features in a separate layer, and now starting on the unnamed creature. Again, I'm not really familiar on how to draw this thing properly, so I'm just, following the sketch, and I'm actually really proud of myself with how it came out, especially the paws, because the times I've drawn paws before, for a couple Pokemon things I've drawn and a couple cats I've drawn, paws are really difficult for me to draw. I really have to do a proper study on them. And right now I'm ready to start base colours, so you see me bringing up a previous pixel drawing I've done of Rowan, and I brought up the pixel drawing and not the original reference thing I've done of Rowan because I always had trouble picking out his colours from the original one I did because the original one is full of gradients. The pixel has a lot more hard lines, so I think I'm going to be using that one for base colours for Rowan from now on. And yeah, it's just base colours. The way I do base colours is I grab the polygon or lasso tool and I select around the areas where I want the colour, and then I do, for the next area of colour, I do a layer underneath, so that way I don't have to redraw with the lasso tool over the same areas I've already done. I can just, kind of do it loosely. And I've done this method of base colouring for a while, and it's really annoying. I really don't like doing it, but I found the most effective method for me. I don't really like manually painting everything, and my line art isn't close enough to do a one tool method, and yeah, and here you see me bring up the original of the creature that my buddy Floof did, because I have to eyedropper the colours, and then I'm always double checking on if I drew him correctly. And really I was so nervous deciding to draw this character, but I thought if not now, when? Because this is the first drawing of Rowan I've started since I've received his companion. But yeah, base colours are done. I know you see me reopen Photoshop because I took a break between recording. And bringing out my same line art brush, actually, I started doing the shading. I like to use the line art brush for cell shading because with the default Photoshop brush, kind of like it's not smooth, really. It kind of gets, I don't know if I have my settings on wrong, but when you use a larger brush with the hard version of it, it's kind of round, and then it doesn't really come to a point. And there's a lot of things that rather piss me off on my line art brush when I do shading with it, but it really is the best method because Photoshop doesn't have a stabilizer like Paint Tool side. This is really the best method I have to do cell shading with a brush, not Pen Tool. But you do see me bring out the Pen Tool a bit later too. Here again I'm going with the lasso tool, one of my favourite tools, and I'm selecting the tips of the ends of his hair so that I can paint them red because he has red tips, but I don't want them to just be red blobs. I want them to actually be only the tips. And I'm being kind of lazy in the way of shading the metal here, but I think it came out pretty good. And on top of the liner, there's a layer that I have labelled white. I'm not sure if you're able to see that correctly, but there I do extra white strands of hair, and I did little strands on the little white bits that come out of the rips of his jeans. And as I was saying before, here comes the pen tool, which I like using the pen tool to shade the skin because it gives more smooth and organic roundness that I don't feel I can achieve properly with a brush. And I do the cell shading, and then I go back with the shading colour and the base colour to soften up the shading and add more shading where it needs it. And doing the eyes, I kind of just grab 4 colours and do them in with the eye bits. And again, I'm grabbing my line art brush, same as I did with the hair, to shade his shirt. I find that horizontal folds are more appealing for tight shirts, like the one Rowan is wearing. And for the pants, again, I'm going in with my line art brush, and here I'm taking more care because I'm actually really proud of the way that I line arted and drew out the folds in the pants here. And after now completing with the line art, you see me go back with a fuzzy brush and ease up the shading, and even now you see me desaturate it a bit because it's not supposed to be a bright blue jeans, they're supposed to be faded light blue jeans. And I'm not being that careful with shading the boots in any way because nobody really looks at the boots, and the metal tip of the boots is really eye-catching anyway. And here with the unnamed creature, I saved the body of the creature for last because I didn't know how I was going to go about doing that. But since it's multicolored and I have all the colours on the same layer, I did a grey to cover the whole thing just for a placeholder for me to see. And then I grabbed another grey, a purplish kind of grey, and I started doing the shading again with my line arting brush. And the way I would do shading, I just try to follow the forms and follow my line art. Like, I'm not inexperienced in terms of drawing new things, so even though I was nervous in actually drawing the creature, I did understand the shape and the geometry of him, so shading wasn't that much of an issue. And I know he's very furry, so I wanted to show that via the shading. Later I go in and draw fur manually with a hairbrush. But yeah, my line art actually was really helpful for shading this because I really just followed the line art and my imagination and my knowledge of form. And later you'll see me take out the grey placeholder I had and then change up the colours of the shading layer so that it matches what's underneath, because if it were just the pure grey it wouldn't really look that attractive. I'm not sure if the video is going too fast for you to see that. I'm not exactly happy with the way the tail came out, but once it's all dark it's really difficult to see how it is. And here you see me looking for that hairbrush I mentioned, and here I am drawing on the fuzzy little hair and eyedroppering different areas to get the right colours to do the fur. And once in a while you see me grab the colour picker to get a lighter colour. And yeah, now that he's pretty much done, I'm going in his spots and adding fur to that. I go back to my white layer and add little stray bright hairs, and even now I lighten up the hairs a bit. And there are the 2 characters done. So here I'm going through my very lazy process of colouring the line art. I basically duplicate all the colours and then darken and saturate them a bit. And then only in the face do I go, or Rowan's face do I go a bit more into detail in where the colours hit. And I was redoing the laces because the laces were pure black in the line art and they got turned brown and I wanted them to be black. And here I am starting with the background, and my approach to backgrounds is very, excuse my terminology, YOLO, because I just have no clue what I'm doing. I'm just going as the wind takes me, so very YOLO. I have no clue what I'm doing essentially. But I was following my sketch and just using all the tools to my disposal, all the custom brushes, even custom brushes I was just testing out things. You see me bring up the brush menu a ton of times to just get different things. And there I am on Google bringing up a bus route map because Rowan's supposed to be sat at a bus stop, and I didn't really feel like trying to draw one, so I just cheated and got one off Google. And I wrote that public transport there and even took the trouble to outline it as well, where in the end Rowan covered it completely. So yeah, that was kind of a waste of time, but I didn't really notice. I was really relaxing listening to music while doing this, so it didn't really hit me that the text there wouldn't be seen because Rowan covers it. And Photoshop does something weird when you're in a really big canvas and you try to make big selections. You try to select something, there it worked out, but other times it doesn't really work out. It like deselects and reselects random blocks of pixels, and that's really, really annoying. And I love working with really large canvases, so it's a huge detriment. Later on, in a little bit here, you're going to see how that works out again. See right there, I'm reselecting the same area like 3 times because the little squares that unselect, they just keep unselecting and unselecting. I don't understand how, and I googled it. Nobody else seems to have this problem. I know it stems from too big a canvas, but you saw me place metal textures on the poles of the bus stop, and then you see a concrete texture and a cracked wall texture I placed on the ground, and then I kind of lowered the opacity, messed with the layer settings, and the concrete ended up on overlay and the cracked wall ended up on multiply. And I'm just going in with a really cracked brush that I think is supposed to be a leaves brush or a dirt brush, and to highlight stuff. And here I'm using Yume's cloud brushes to give some mist, and then using the square selection tool to make some buildings. And I couldn't get the windows placed right, so I just got a random grid off Google to select the little window, so that didn't really work out how I intended it to, but well, these buildings weren't supposed to be entirely that detailed or nice to look at. And the grey I had in the background I turned to blue, and then I used a splatter brush to make some stars. I use that splatter brush in every single of my paintings since I got it actually. And just trying to change the whole scene to a night scene via adding blue to stuff. And doing this I think is key to make a piece cohesive. And we're almost done here now. I'm just adding extra glowy bits and trying to make the characters fit into their setting, and in a bit now you'll see me crop it a bit because I didn't like how the bottom was and I didn't really like the buildings, so I didn't want them to hold too much attention. And again, trying to make it more of a night scene, and we're essentially done now. I'm just tweaking a couple things, so because I want it to be a night scene, but again I want the characters to stand out, so that's what I'm doing there. And that's me saving, and thank you very much for watching. All the links to the DeviantArt version are in the description.